just because you're best friends with the coach's wife doesn't mean, we should keep him around to coach the team.
All right, welcome on to a public edition of Hollinger and Duncan. If you're watching on YouTube, or if you're not even, please give us a like and subscribe. We're doing a lot of interesting stuff in the YouTube space. It is free and something that's actually gotten a lot of cool responses. We had over 20,000 views on our last video, which was impressive because we only have 5,000 YouTube subscribers at the moment. I've been doing what we're going to call Dunked On Clutch Calls, which is where I'm going to watch a close game and just call it at the end, like I'm an announcer, same way we do on the NBA strategy stream, and then try to get those out within 30 minutes or maybe an hour after the game ends. So if you missed a really close game, I think the best combination of still experiencing the excitement of the game, but also getting our analysis at the same time. So that was pretty popular. I think you guys should check that out. I'm going to try to do one tonight if there is a game worthy of a clutch call. But it took me like an hour to workshop that. How'd I do there, John? If I'm going to call it a Dunked On Clutch call to get through that, like I'm doing the live call of the game. Is that, you think of anything better?
No, the only thing I could think of is the Clutch Crucible, but that one's already in use for this spring, right?
We'll see. That's right. We'll save that for the playoffs. That's a good. I'm glad you mentioned that, though. I'm gonna have to use Crucible in some of these titles. So since it's such a relevant word to so much of our audience.
Yes.
And then the scouting reports are called Dunked On Real Scout, because we don't give into the hype. We're going to keep it real instead of just telling you how awesome your young player is on this team, and then he's going to be a future all-star and everything's going to be okay and he should have gone number one in the draft for sure. We're going to actually be real about it and maybe be wrong as well, but at least take a position. All right. We also need to take some, maybe not positions, but we need to talk about 6 teams that we did not get to in the Eastern Conference in our discussion because we had to discuss the firing of Nico Harrison. Let's begin with the Boston Celtics. And they definitely seem to have some kind of institutional knowledge and memory, because that was one of my questions about them coming in, is they lost Jason Tatum, obviously, for the year. Al Horford, Drew Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, all gone. And they brought in all these guys who, were bargain guys, but hadn't been part of their group. They weren't necessarily going to be able to play the same way. But it does seem like they, especially now that Peyton Pritchard and Derek White aren't just missing every single three, which wasn't going to continue. They're above 500 or above water in terms of net rating, around 500 on the season. Do you think, am I going to be wrong about them making the playoffs? My prediction that they would miss the playoffs, you think, John?
Well, certainly they have more institutional knowledge left than the Pacers. I think the thing that you have to talk about with them is just that everyone's been healthy. I mean,
yeah.
White, Pritchard, Brown, Simons, Queta, Hauser have played every game. So I think that's been a big factor for them, especially as guys the rest of the league drop like flies. But that said, they've been good. They're top 10 on both ends right now. There've been a couple of blowouts against shitty teams that have helped pad that, but still, Jaylen Brown will probably miss a mid-range jumper at some point this season, but has not yet. So that his ability to scale up, which I had questions about, I think he's been able to do that and do it relatively efficiently. I think that's been a real key for their offense.
Yeah, and my thesis about them was that things weren't going to go that great early, and then they'd be like, all right, what's the point of driving Derek White and Jaylen Brown into the ground? But for Jaylen Brown, I think we're kind of seeing this with Giannis too. Being driven into the ground and like getting to be the man, which he's never really had a chance to do before, like it's actually pretty fun. Like you got to think about that of just, hey, if you're going to play pickup basketball, you show up on the team, you're like, oh yeah, I'm definitely better than all these guys on my team. Like they're going to give me the ball every time. Like, yeah, getting to drill and shoot and make the play every time. Like, it's not bad.
So number 3 in usage rate in the whole league.
Yeah. but he's been able to do it so far. We'll see whether that continues. But yeah, his shooting had really fallen off last year, and I think a big part of that was the knee issue that he eventually had to have surgery on. So, and they're getting up a billion threes. Anthony Simons basically like not figuring for this team, though. Is that
Yeah.
surprising to you?
Yes, it is. I thought they would almost depend on him just because I didn't see where the points were going to come from.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's playing in the games and stuff, but like you forget he's out on the court a lot.
Yeah, and I think Joe really, because they've gotten to starting Jordan Walsh now, which has helped their rebounding some, which was a big problem early on. Walsh, doesn't really do anything on offense, but he at least will stand by the 3-point line.
I think there's a game within the game among the other starters to see how long they can go without passing the ball to Jordan Walsh.
Well, I guess the other thing you could point to also is, let's say Jaylen Brown can keep this up all year and doesn't get hurt. You can go into next year, and Tatum is still talking about maybe coming back. Hopefully this is not an inspiration for him to do that they're competent so far. Although I do think it's also noteworthy that they seem to win pretty easily against bad teams. And there are a lot of bad teams right now, as we'll be talking about in our next section. But if you could say like Jaylen Brown, and we'll see, Derek White might just be too old by next year, but if Jaylen Brown can move into more of a true co-star role over the course of the regular season with Jason Tatum, who I fear is not going to quite be the same coming off the Achilles,
right?
And maybe these guys can get back into championship contention with a few moves here and there to shore up the front court.
Yeah.
Maybe they could sign Kristaps Porzingis as a free
agent.
As a
free agent, right?
Yeah, to the to the Tax Me Leveler song. All right. Your next team is the Orlando Magic, who we did not talk about last week.
Yeah, it's been an interesting start, I would say. It's at some level, you knew it was probably going to be rocky the start of the year for these guys. Trying to incorporate Bane, who, A, it's a high usage player relatively, but B, has kind of a different playing style than other guys they played with. And I think it took them about 5 to 7 games to realize it's not just having Bane standing in the corner. Like, that's not the benefit of having him. And now they've had him involved more in off the ball action and, pins and threes above the break and stuff. They've gotten him a little more ingrained in their playbook, which I think has been helpful. I still like the Paolo thing is still interesting, that I feel like they just don't miss a beat when they give the reins to Franz. And, we've seen it again with these couple games. Paolo's been out.
Yeah, and they've always been much better with Franz only than Paolo only.
And that when it's Paolo and Franz together, it's almost like having 2 Paulos or 2 Franzes. Like it's just it gets very your turn, my turn. And it's not really a thing between them. Now, if you can get to the point where you can play Paolo at 5, maybe that's a different look, but they haven't really been excited to try that. So
yeah, well, I don't think they have enough defense if they do that. And they don't really have another wing. Like, who's going to be the 3 then if you play Paolo at the 5, right?
Black, I guess.
Yeah.
De Silva's giving him some minutes, but yeah, he's not a defender. You're just basically asking Jalen Suggs to guard the whole other team, which he might do, but it's I don't know. It's just a weird dynamic there. They draw a ton of fouls. They mash you in the paint. Their defense hasn't quite been at the level of the last 2 years. Can they get back?
Well, that's actually the bigger question to me. That's the bigger question to me, because they their offense is moving towards being respectable. They're getting to the foul line a ton, and guys are starting to hit more threes. no, not that many. Like they're still 25th, but Tyus Jones actually had 2 threes coming into last night on the season, which is not amazing. Like him just completely turning into a pumpkin has been a problem for them. They brought him in to really stabilize that second unit. He's been terrible, but Wendell Carter has remembered how to shoot again. I think like he's actually been one of the most improved players in the league after he just totally fell off a cliff last year in terms of his efficiency. Now he's back. He's been really solid defensively and on the boards too. I still think there's something here with these guys. And I also think, we've probably mentioned before, that if they can't do better than this offensively, you do have to start looking at the coaching, and because they have to find a way to, like you said, like these Paolo and Franz, yeah, they're kind of the same, but they also, you should be able to have 2 guys who want to attack off the dribble in one offense. Like it's that's not impossible. Like we've seen guys who want to do that before play together, and I think they have decent pieces around them at this point in time. But I still think these guys are going to be heard from. They've been playing a lot better lately after a bad start. So and we'll have to see on Paul. He's supposedly day to day. The Indiana Pacers. Yeah. I guess I'm just like, Nemhard's been back lately. He and Siakam are their 2 best players. They still have been terrible with both those guys out there. McConnell is back too. You just wonder, like we kind of saw this with the Pels last year, that we saw it with Memphis 2 years ago. When a team just starts that badly, even when their decent players come back, it takes them a while, or maybe they just never do find it again. And that would probably be the best thing for the organization, honestly. The other thing too is just, and maybe Ben Mathurin being back can help them. They're still missing Obi Toppin, of course. Halliburton, the center position has been about as bad as we would have thought. So I think the fact that it started this badly, and with the injuries, I'm just curious how hard they're going to tank down, because they could get a top 5 pick, which would be
absolutely. Yeah.
That would be unbelievable to add to this group coming back if they have the balls to do it. I'm just worried that they might not.
I think when you get to this point, you can stage manage the second half of the season to give yourself a pretty good chance to have one of the 4 worst records, which is really what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm just curious whether they're going to do that or not, because they really never have before. And but this is, especially with the success they've had, hopefully they can figure out a way to do that. And maybe I think they would like to play some competent basketball for like the next month or so, and then maybe Pascal and Andrew Nembhard can kind of chill or be rested in opposite games or whatever. I mean, but like teams are resting their guys against the Pacers right now, and they're still getting smoked every day.
Yeah, that's a bad sign. Yeah, I attended the only game they won, and then the other time I saw them, they almost won. So I have like this completely, it was the Giannis shot at the buzzer. So I have this completely different perspective on this team, because I missed a lot of the games where they got absolutely drilled. The thing that stands out to me as a giant disappointment is that Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd both really struggling. And those are 2 of the guys where you're like, okay, if we're taking a gap year, those are guys we want to see step forward. And the opposite has happened. They've been like unplayable, even as bad as the Pacers have been.
Yeah, 40% true shooting for Jarris Walker is now what you're looking for. Let's talk about the Brooklyn Nets too. They did get a second win. Congratulations to that. But let me ask you this question. What reason should I have for watching the Brooklyn Nets?
I struggled with this as I watched the Brooklyn Boston game this morning. Especially like, okay, so Cam Thomas is still out of the lineup. Yegor Doman, he's interesting. Like,
is he ever going to take a 2-pointer though?
As like, what is the peak level of offense you can get to without ever making a 2-point shot.
But that's what's so ridiculous about it, though, is if the whole point of having this big playmaker is, oh man, like he can get inside to the basket and bully people. You thought maybe he could be a Josh Giddey type, and like he's definitely a better shooter than Josh Giddey was early. But Josh at least would get into the basket and draw the defense a little bit and make plays. And like I don't care how good a passer he is if he never sets foot inside the arc. What good is it going to do?
So that was one of the things that I noticed with him at BYU, that he gets off the ball so early that he hasn't really maximized his advantage yet. And so he passes a lot to, and sometimes they're like these really cool cross-court passes, but they're to guys who are either not really open or less open than they would have been if he had been able to take a couple dribbles into the paint and then kicked it. So that, I think that's definitely a thing with him. But he's like teenage big point guard. I mean, that's a pretty good combo, right? I think there's something there, but the inability to ever make a 2-point basket is a little alarming. Like that's definitely different. And he's been the best one of their 5 first-round picks. I'm a little troubled by how their draft is looking so far. Drake Powell has started to get some minutes. Has some athleticism to him, but the offense really needs refinement. Saraf, Traore, Wolf have not played well in their limited minutes. So,
yeah, there's certainly no one in that group, and it could happen. But in a draft that's looking really good, I mean, it's kind of tough to me because it was like being at 8, they just weren't going to get the same quality of player as was available to the teams drafting in the top 7.
Yeah.
I don't know if Trey Johnson's in that category. We'll talk about him in a second, but none of these guys are you looking like, oh, we have even one position filled for sure going forward. So that's,
yeah,
you'd like to at least see that level from some of these guys. What about the Charlotte Hornets?
Oh, thank you for changing subjects.
Charlotte. Yeah, we'll save the Michael Porter Jr. Can he be traded somewhere talk for a later time.
I thought you were going to do a Michael Porter Jr. renegotiate and extend conversation. There was technically a really nerdy way for them to get to the cap floor that way that I was all excited about, but of course it never happened. Charlotte. They've been competent, competitive. They're losing most of the time, right? But they're losing in overtime. They're losing by 3. They're not getting blown out of the gym, even without Brandon Miller, which is a good sign. The most interesting to me is that they've been able to cobble together a decent center rotation from what looked like a absolute pile of ass when the season started. Second round pick, Ryan Kalkbrenner, not a great player maybe, but a extremely efficient shot maker, shooting 81% from the field, not just on dunks either. It's interesting. He actually shot 3s at Creighton, and I'm wondering how much they'll try to stretch him out as the year goes on and as his career goes on. And then Moussa Diabate just comes in, just plays with his hair on fire every single game. He's undersized. He's not that skilled, but just in terms of like a pure energy guy, he's been amazing and fun to watch. It's probably mostly where the fun part ends with these guys. Like Con Knipples had a good rookie year. Yeah. Cyan James, good energy defender. Like he's a bench guy basically. Like, I don't think he's any kind of starter, but in the second round, like he's playable. McNeely's had a little harder time getting going. I still like him long term. He's still young. He's big. He can shoot. But might not be till next year that we really see him pop.
Have you seen any Greensboro Swarm games to check out Salon?
Burr. I don't think you can pick up his 4th-year option right now.
Well, I know you have to wait until next year.
Yeah, it's till next year. I know, but like I'm looking ahead
if you had
to
make the decision right now,
Yeah,
He'd
yeah.
probably
You'd
say
just be
no.
like, I'm lighting
Yeah.
money on fire. No. Um,
Yeah.
Still,
Well, here I got a couple of things on them. I
okay.
mean, Kalkbrenner's rim protection numbers are very interesting. Now, he did get dunked into next week by Brandon Ingram, so it's going to take him a while to appear in a game after that. But he was one of the best numbers we've seen from rookie centers in a while. He's not that mobile, but he's got some Brook Lopez to him
Yeah.
defensively, and,
It's
and
and
he's
it's
been
a
had. Yeah.
super conservative scheme. I mean, their whole thing is they
Yeah.
don't foul, they don't force turnovers, they defensive rebound, and they're just going to count on you missing the shot you take that is not at the rim.
The other thing too, I mean, LaMelo Ball has played 255 minutes, and they have a 5.7 net rating in those minutes. 120 offensive rating with him on the floor.
Yeah, that's encouraging.
And Knipple's been good too. I did a breakdown of him on Monday. So for Dunk Down Prime subscribers, you can check that out. But I think he's going to be at least a very, very solid starter, and with some potential for more than that. Even though he's not the most athletic guy, I think the way that the game is played right now, his strength for the type of player that he is pretty interesting. So I'm feeling better about Charlotte than I was at the start of the season for sure. They're not just throwing Nick Smith Jr. out there for entire games anymore. At least Brandon Miller is about to come back too.
Trey Mann has taken that role.
Yeah, he's been just terrible. Like when the best thing you can say is that his defense has been better than expected. That's yeah, I mean, and they could probably play Colin Sexton more than they have been, but man, it's kind of part of what they're doing. So the Washington Wizards, your colleague Josh Robbins wrote a piece about this a bit ago. Are they too terrible? I know they can't be good because they have to finish. Their goal is bottom 4, so that they literally can't fall out of the top 8 and lose their pick.
Mm-hmm.
But is this just too awful?
I feel like they shouldn't be this bad on defense, especially. Like they are last in defense 1 year after drafting a defensive center with the 2nd overall pick. That to me,
well, they don't have any power forwards, and they don't have any other centers. That's kind of a problem.
A little bit. Marvin Bagley's been okay, but yeah,
not on defense.
All right, so can we talk about these charity minutes for Bub Carrington and when that party ends?
Yeah, they've moved him out of the starting lineup for when Koulibaly came back. Yeah, that's he's just really struggling to do anything. He's shooting 23.9% on 2-pointers and not even taking any of them. Never gets to the foul line. He's always been like, I thought he had a good summer league last year, but it's basically been, what is it you do here exactly? Like his defense has been better than expected, but I'm just wondering what he's just not dynamic.
Yeah, the one game they almost won in Detroit, they had Carrington on the floor and a defensive possession coming out of a timeout, and he lets Dennis Jenkins get the 3 to tie the game.
Yeah. I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting in the numbers with Sarr on or off the floor in terms of the defense. And the answer to that is, yeah, they only have a 120 defensive rating when, or sorry, no, they're actually worse with Sarr on the floor. Never mind. Like, I guess this is what I would say. I'm pretty shocked at how bad Middleton and McCollum have been. I thought that, my thought was they were just going to not play those guys because they'd be too good, and instead they haven't really disrupted their tank in any way. So neither of those guys is going to get out of there unless it's by a buyout at the end of the season if they don't start playing better.
Yeah.
To me, Sarr has taken a massive step forward this year. He's been
as an offensive player, especially
much more efficient.
Yeah,
and I still think he has something on defense. And Keyshawn George has been good too. It's like those, to me, you feel good about those two guys being long-term starters.
Yes.
And then there's really nobody else who's played even remotely well for this team. Because that was kind of my thought as I saw a few games of them early, and then I didn't see any for maybe a week or so. And they're getting destroyed every game. I'm like, well, that's weird. Like Sarr and Keyshawn George are looking pretty good. Their stats pretty good. And then I looked at it and I'm like, well, that's because there's no, I mean, is there any other player on this team in the top 30 at their position? No. So
Yeah.
that it's not, I was like, oh, these are the two most important guys. They're doing well. We thought that Cam Whitmore might be able to blossom there. That has
That
not been the
hasn't
case at all so
happened.
far.
Yeah. Yeah. They got to get back to playing Champagny more because he at least gives them another guy who can play real basketball and kind of fit in and make it easier for the other young players. But to do that, you have to pull back on Carrington and Trey Johnson, probably.
What have you seen from Trey so far?
I mean, he can shoot it. Doesn't really generate much at the rim or for teammates. There's been one or two okay passes. Like he can get you buckets from the perimeter. I just don't know what else he does. And that was my question from him going back to Texas. And that's why I was a little lower on him.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't play in a phone booth, but he plays in maybe like some hopscotch squares where he can catch the ball coming off a screen and maybe take a couple of dribbles to get free, but he can't get all the way to the rim. His rim rate is just infinitesimal right now because he can't really get by anybody. And he can jump off of 2 feet straight up and down, but yeah, just his lateral movement, his up and down movement is not great. He will knock down shots. All right, maybe he's just okay starting shooting guard someday, but he just doesn't do enough to me to be a star. And that's why I thought at the time, and I think so far I would double down on this opinion, that they really blew it by not taking Jeremiah Fears. Now, maybe they're thinking it's just he's too small. Small guards are really sucking in today's game. And so you shouldn't take a chance on something like that. But he's at least dynamic, right? Like he had upside. If they had him, you could at least be like, yeah, here's a guy that we want to see develop, that we can put the ball in his hands, and there's some possibility of him maybe becoming an all-star someday, which I just didn't see with Trey.
Yeah. Yeah, because they took Trey 6 and then Fears went 7, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, did they not draft him because they had Bub Carrington?
That would have been that would have been a mistake because I mean Carrington's numbers from his rookie year were awful too. So
I think like Bub Carrington will have a career. I think he'll be a reasonably steady player, but yeah, probably not a starter.
Like in Finland or United States.
He'll make shots and he's not a terrible defender and he can dribble a little bit like that. I think he's an NBA player, but when you're talking about finding someone to be part of the tent pole, yeah, I mean, I think Sarr and George are really the only ones that you're looking at there as guys you're really going to want to invest in.
Yeah.
All right, then you want to do a little time to panic?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm panicking about Bub Carrington's prospects clearly. So this is a nice segue.
All right. Well, I'm panicking that you haven't done the siren noise yet. Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point. All right, where do you want to start? Who is the team that feels the most panicky? And we'll base this on the team's expectations for itself, maybe the fans' expectations, not necessarily our expectations. There's some of these teams I didn't think were going to be that good, and they're not, but they thought they're going to be good. So we will base it on what they thought of themselves.
Checking in at 4-10. Bottom 10 in both offense and defense. Second from the bottom in pace. Oldest team in the league, owing a lottery pick to Oklahoma City. And under investigation by the league. The Los Angeles Clippers. They got to be at the top of any panic list.
Yeah. Derrick Jones Jr., their best or second best perimeter defender, is now out probably for nearly 2 months with what sounds like agreed to MCL strain. Kawhi Leonard could be back tomorrow, could be back in March. No idea. James Harden actually has played pretty well. Ivica
Yes.
Zubac hasn't quite been the same guy. Brook Lopez hasn't really done many Brook Lopez things. He might be about done based on what we've seen early on.
Lopez, Batum, Bogey, Chris Paul, Beal. Like that was supposed to be like a 5-man unit that you could bring in off the bench. Well, they thought Beal would start, I guess, but work with me here.
Collins was supposed to be in that group.
And they got nothing from any of those 5 guys. And I'm not sure if any of those 5 guys we're going to get anything from them going forward ever. Right? Like I just think they got these older guys at the exact wrong time where it just started going downhill fast.
Yeah, it would seem that way. And then what's more, the players that they do have don't fit together particularly well. Chris Paul needed Kawhi Leonard and then also needs a role man. Ty Lue decided that even with all the guys who are out, Chris Paul shouldn't even be playing for them. So now they have no real backup point guard. And they're having to run Harden into the ground. And they have who's their best shooter? Bogdanovich, I guess, at this point, who's available right now.
I mean, other than James Harden.
Let me check the but as someone who James Harden can actually pass to, because he's gonna have the ball.
John Collins.
I've one time like, hey, let me check the stats on Kobe Sanders. That's when you know your team has probably gone off the rails. And Kobe Sanders does have a pretty good 3-point attempt rate, shooting 38%. Maybe that's why he's been out there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is a group that I thought would win 52 games. I didn't think they were a championship threat, but I thought they're a threat for a top 4 seed in the East. I think we can.
In the West, but yeah, I did too.
They wouldn't even be a threat for a top
4 not even a threat in the East. Exactly.
Yeah. Thank you for correcting me. I need it sometimes. So, well, let's say Kawhi were able to come back and play the way he played last year. Is that going to fix anything?
I mean, they got their asses beat by Utah on opening night with Kawhi in the lineup. And, would he lift them to being an average team maybe in the games he plays? That's possible. But that doesn't, what is that? Okay. So he'll help drag them to 34 wins instead of 27.
That could mean that they make the play-in.
It's looking bleak in that 10th position. If you've been tracking this. Yeah.
I am tracking
that's absolutely
it right now.
True. Yeah.
And Portland is actually really weirdly fallen off lately. Their defense has been, I would say, a massive disappointment after the first couple games of the year. Golden State is, I think Phoenix is going to fall off because their schedule is going to get harder. But yeah, really even the, we'll assume Phoenix, we'll call Phoenix number 7 in the conference. Or sorry, call it Golden State number 7 in the conference. So you've got Phoenix, Portland, Utah, Clippers, Grizz, Mavs, Kings, Pelicans. The Clippers could still be the 8th seed.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah, which is crazy, but yeah, because there's just nobody's running away from them.
Yeah,
Utah is strongly incentivized to not be in that 10th position, right? They'll do whatever it takes when they need to get out of there.
We'll see. I am very curious to see that because Austin H came in there talking a big game about how they weren't going to manipulate anything this season, and again, they're 5-9. I think there will be moments where if Lauri Markkanen's hurt, they're going to really struggle. But Will Hardy is a good offensive coach, and you give him some pieces, and they're going to be respectable on most nights, and that could put you in danger of losing that top 8 protected pick. So it's
Well, if you tell him,
Austin Ainge is going to have to. He may end up suffering some cognitive dissonance from those comments that he made. I thought he thought he had assembled a much worse team than he actually did.
well,
It would seem.
if you tell him Cody Williams needs 30 minutes of developmental work at point guard every night, I'm sure you can find a way to get to the point in the standings you need to.
Yeah, we'll see. There's going to be. I mean, I guess maybe also the saving grace for Utah would be New Orleans. I mean, Phoenix has already have 9 wins, so it'll be Phoenix going to finish ahead of them. New Orleans, I imagine, since they don't have their pick, they'll be trying to win as many games as possible. All right, give me your panic meter on the Clippers, 1 through 10.
I'd say they're probably a 9. Once you lump in
Yeah.
the investigation from the league.
Well, so is there a possibility, because they still have Harden, Kawhi, and Zubats, and all those guys, if Kawhi came back, again, obviously the fact that he is out is a concern, but if Kawhi came back, like that's still a decent foundation. It's just that every other piece around them, like Derek Jones Jr. could probably be another piece. Chris Dunn has fallen off some. They're really hoping he could be what he was last year, but and they're playing him like he is, but he just hasn't been.
Yeah.
They're just so awful on defense. I think that's going to just generally get better. But you also don't want to throw away any future assets on this team. So that, I think, is the other issue, particularly when, although maybe as we said, yeah, maybe you should, right? Is that what you're going to say?
Just go ahead and trade all your picks right now because you know they're going to get taken away anyway.
Yeah, could Adam Silver just say, yeah, watching this team's punishment enough. We're just going to let you guys off the hook here. That would actually be a great. Danny and I did a bunch of Watfos. One of the ones I should have done yesterday was, what are the odds that the results of the league's investigation of the Clippers are announced before the All-Star game? So I could have gone to 0.0000001%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 9 too. It seems like there's okay, if you could go get another, if they could get Norm Powell back on this team and then a decent backup point guard and everybody healthy, yeah, you know what? Maybe they could be back as a team that's a solid mid 40s type of win team. But yeah, I guess the question will become then what happens this offseason. Harden has this non-guarantee on his player option, and they still have Zubats. Would it even make sense to trade Zubats? Probably not, because they're thinking that they're going to reorient in the summer of 27, but the only guy that they will have around probably will be Zubats at that point. So I don't know how attractive they'll be. Yeah, I think it's a 9. Well, this team, we did not talk about this yet. The New Orleans Pelicans firing their coach, Willie Green. Yes. Any thoughts on that before I rank them as a 12 out of 10 on the panic meter?
Yes, I was just in New Orleans for a couple days and wrote about the Pelicans. It symbolizes their issues, even though it's the least of their issues. That they couldn't get around to firing him until into the middle of this season, while the Saints are on a bye week. Convince the owner finally that just because you're best friends with the coach's wife doesn't mean, we should keep him around to coach the team. And it's just a crazy dysfunctional situation there.
Yeah, I thought Shamit Dua wrote about it well. His reaction to Gail Benson being named, I think, the most powerful woman in sports, and that she basically has taken this position of like, well, I'm doing everything that I can. I'm just throw up my hands. I'm empowering these people. It's not working. And no, your organization is a tire fire because you don't know how to run an organization in a way that makes sense. And hiring Joe Dumars without a process, letting him bring in Troy Weaver, letting him trade away your unprotected first round pick. Ultimately, the buck stops with the owner. You hired this person. I mean, we were saying this about Patrick Dumont, and now it seems like he's finally gotten religion. Tim McMahon wrote a pretty good article about that today too. But she just, if you're we'll put it this way. If you're an owner of an NBA team and literally every single person in NBA media and every opposing executive sees a trade happen and thinks that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen, you should be smart enough as an owner to veto that. Now, you've also hired someone who proposed that trade to you to begin with, so you're probably not going to be that smart. But you have a duty to educate yourself for the fans and everything. So, yeah. Any other observations there from your time in New Orleans? I haven't had a chance to read your piece yet.
I mean, it's really shocking that Dumar's just been like Troy Weaver is a subcontractor GM basically.
Yeah.
Like Dumar's just outsourced the whole job to him. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, you are spending time there. You kind of realize that was the case even more than has been.
I mean, just talking to people in the league too. Obviously, going back to the summer, it's just been like it's been his show. Yeah.
Yeah, and so to be clear, the way you can determine that is just who's making the calls, right? And who are you actually dealing with? And
that's part of it is who you're on the phone with and the back and forth and stuff. But then also you look at the tea leaves of like who are the players, who are the types. I mean, it's all Troy Weaver. All the through lines on every move they've made go to Troy Weaver, not Joe Dumars.
Yeah. No, it's remarkable. Again, they had no, and that's the other thing. I said this about Dumont. This is why having the process is so important, because even if you end up hiring someone, you at least understand the options. You understand different paths. You have a chance to be impressed by someone. If you only talk to one person, then you never, oh yeah, this guy seems like he knows a lot about basketball. He's got some good ideas, but you never talk to anyone else. So how would you know? Can you compare them? And so that when you don't do that and you don't educate yourself about the possible options, I mean, all these, like Sacramento didn't have a process either. Scott Perry, yes, you know what? You're right. It's this terrible roster was assembled by somebody else, but also you thought it was a great idea to make Dennis Schroeder your top offseason priority. So it's I'm really just pretty miserable about what this Pelicans organization is. That might come up not next week, maybe not the week after, but maybe 3 weeks from now in that episode.
Yeah.
I mean, you're maybe the one thing that would reduce the panic meter is Fears and Queen have looked okay so far.
Yeah, Fears. I mean, his burst ability to get downhill is really impressive. He's 19. There's stuff he doesn't have yet, which is fine, but he has a thing you can't teach as a shot creator. And that's really exciting. And Queen's been fine for a mid-round draft pick. It's just the level he has to play at in order to justify what was given up is so high, that I don't know if he's ever going to hit that, but he's, is he probably a rotation player? Sure. Could he be a starter? Yeah, possibly.
And since Zion's been out, Fears and Queen have probably been their two best offensive players. I guess, Murphy knocks down shots, but I would say their two best creators would probably be a better way to put it. But the problem with Queen, and I think he does some stuff that's pretty, the passing is definitely real for him.
Yep.
And, I think he can beat up some smaller players. He's got the ability to face up, do some spin moves. His touch is pretty good. I don't know if he's ever going to be devastatingly efficient because he's just not a great athlete. I don't think he's great at getting the line because he's not sudden or in that way. Maybe he'll just be able to overpower you, but he's not really quite true center size.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit of an issue. And then, but he doesn't really shoot that well.
Yeah. And his
and
guide hand is all over the ball on his shot, and they need to fix that. Which you'd have more faith in that if Fred Vincent was still there, but he's not.
He's not there? What? They just let him go? Why?
No, he's in Detroit, remember?
No, I know. Just another example of this organization just cheaping out. And there's nothing I could do. There's no way we could retain. The guy who's been keeping our organization afloat for the last 10 years. Let's just let him go.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. The
the
ROI on that, seriously, the ROI on that hire for the Pelicans was probably as good as any coach hire in the entire league. for the time he was there. Like he cured so many guys' shots.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard varying things about exactly how much responsibility he had for these guys' shooting improvements, but while he was there, the results are the results. I just wanted to make sure that I was being honest, that I wasn't just taking it totally at face value that it was all him, but you still have to give like, rely on those results to some degree. Okay, who's your next team you'd like to discuss? I'm going to go with an 11 for the Pels just because of what's going to happen with the draft pick. And then also because of just the organization, I would say is at a worse point. I mean, I would say that the Dell Dumps era was incredibly competent compared to what they have going on now.
That's a great way to put it. Ed, like it was yes, they operated at a higher level then than they do now, like without question.
Yeah.
Next team on the panic meter, we got to talk about Memphis.
I mean, is it just all over?
Well, they can't get their best player to give a shit. Jaren Jackson can't score all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. Jaren Jackson doesn't give a shit right now.
The guy who was theoretically their best player.
Yes.
John Morant. I mean, the one thing you can hang your hat on is Coward looks great, right? Like he looks like he's going to be starting for the next 10 years. But otherwise, they can't stay healthy. Jalen Wells is taking a step back. KCP looks kind of washed. Morant, like what? I don't know what's going on there. Did they pick the right guy with Isolo? Or are they going to have to make another change? Just so many questions.
Yeah, and it just the other question is, you might say trade Jaren. He's gonna have to play his way off of this team. He's been awful on both ends.
Yeah, it's been I mean, he's coming back from the injury and stuff, but yeah, it's been a rough go for him. I don't think the offensive change has been great for him, but
no, the previous system was perfect.
I don't think you can put it all on that either, though. Like he's still getting his isolation chances and stuff. So yeah, it's been a little hard for me to watch, obviously, with my history with him. So yeah,
so as you say that, then, and is this just a blip or is there reason for overall concern?
I would think more blip / return from injury, but as the games go, every game that goes on that nothing changes, kind of, you adjust your priors a little bit more. So we're at 15 games now, right? Is it,
Yeah.
If it's 30 games of this, then what are we thinking? If it's 45 games of this, then what are we thinking? So it's to the point where you start asking some questions. It's going to be interesting to see if he can kind of turn this around.
Would you care to guess how many dunks Jaren Jackson Jr. has in the season?
Oh, yeah, it's not a big number because I don't really remember. Like he hasn't really had any rim runs. He doesn't usually get many off the dribble because it's all those lefty floater shots. I'm going to say it's less than 10.
The answer is 3. He has 3 dunks in 435 minutes. And like he would get, and he's also shooting 52% at the rim, and he's almost never getting there so far. Now, like his floaters are actually going in some, but he hasn't been as dynamic there. And then defensively, you haven't felt him, and he can't get a rebound. So maybe that's actually some indication that physically he's not feeling great, because all these things have to do with actually like athleticism and jumping.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's going to play better than he's played. Like I thought he was an All NBA player until he sprained his ankle last year.
Mm-hmm.
And they've always been really good with him on defense, and maybe getting a center who's not Jock Landale next to him will help some.
Yeah, I mean, Edie's been back the last 2 games now, so see if he.
But for me, someone who thought they would be in the mix for the bottom of the West playoff picture, yeah, I think you got to go with probably an 8, and then the fact that it seems like Morant is just done there.
Yeah, and has years left on a max deal. That's the scary part. So, what is the? Because I don't think there's massive enough demand for him that they could do some amazing trade that makes them whole. They're gonna end up having gotten more for Desmond Bane than John Morant, like without a doubt.
And maybe Jaren too, honestly.
I still, I mean, he has to play better, but I still think the demand for him would be really high.
Yeah, I guess you're right too, though, that because he's making almost 30% of the salary cap off that renegotiation and extension going forward after this year, 4-year deal. Now, I guess you could say if he plays better, they'll just keep him. And if he doesn't play better, they'll just keep him because they can't.
Yeah. And he's, I mean, he's 26, so he could be part of whatever is post Morant there if they have to go in that direction. They still have some draft assets in these next couple years. That Phoenix pick is maybe not quite as juicy as it looked at the start of the year. But their own pick is.
Well, aren't they? Are they? Yeah, they're not part of that swap, though, right? Their own pick is not.
Their
part
own
of that
pick
swap?
is not swappable, right?
Right. Okay. Well, I guess we got to go to the Kings now at 3-11.
Yeah, the only reason we didn't talk about them sooner is because the panic is only for people who like work for the Kings and thought they'd be good. Like everyone else is like, oh yeah, the Kings are 3-11. This is exactly what I expected. They are bad.
Can I run something by you real quick?
Yeah, sure.
You thought that Keegan, and we'll see if him coming back means that they start playing better. Maybe it won't. But you thought that he was a little overpaid on that extension. Is what they've been without him, is that any indication that maybe he's worth it?
Oh, so like Supermax, right? Like this has been the incredible endorsement for Keegan Murray. I mean, they're so small without him on the perimeter. It's unbelievable. They're trying to get by with like a bunch of 6'3" guys across the perimeter. The thing that's weird, so we expected them to be bad on defense. They are. They're 27th. But 25th in offense, I thought they were at least going to be an average offense with Sabonis, Levine, DeRozan, Monk, right? I mean, Schroeder hasn't been good, but like he's an offensive player, right? Like, and they're just bad.
Yeah, they have no shooting, and yeah, I think Sabonis, his fit with this group is really questionable. Am I allowed to declare victory on Domantas Sabonis not being that good yet? Am I allowed to now?
We can say it's. I think we can say the Pacers won the trade. I think that's okay.
Yeah,
I think we can go there.
Yeah. Also, De'Aaron Fox is probably pretty good. They are. He was a pretty important player for them. We kind of just, they replaced him with Levine, and they'll just trundle along doing the same thing. Like, you know what? They're able to stay 500 at the end of last season because everyone was tanking in the most tanktastic year that we've ever seen.
Nate, are you one of the haters?
Yeah, Danny was like, he read that quote and he's like, all right, yeah, I will keep that same energy, Doug Christie. Thank you.
Bizarre thing in Sac, even with the lack of shooting, the reluctance to play Keon Ellis.
Yeah.
He's a pretty high volume 3-point shooter, is making 44% this year and plays defense unlike other guys on the Kings. But
But I guess they're just going to tank their way into a pick, and then maybe they rebuild, and maybe Scott Perry will have some license to do that. But I've said this, that maybe Scott Perry will be more effective than some of his predecessors because it seems like he has the ear of Vivek Randive, but unfortunately, maybe that's because they kind of think the same in basketball.
Uh-oh.
No, I will say, I don't think Scott Perry would have wanted to do the Zach LaVine trade. I would guess that's
Yeah.
probably the case. But
Let me ask you this. If you were the Kings, would you still do the Kuminga deal that they were trying to do? Like,
which
because
was
that's
Monk
because that's good
and
because
a
that's going to
first.
come back in December or January, whenever his trade restriction goes away, where you could do Monk in the first for Kuminga, and now the Warriors don't need to trade Buddy Hield or whatever to complete the trade.
I don't think Golden State would want to do that. Danny and I talked about this yesterday of whether they actually will trade Kuminga. I think they probably won't. I don't know who's available. Like, if you're Golden State, you're not taking a step back on the floor this year, unless it's a three-way deal where you can move that Sacramento pick for something else that's going to be better than Kuminga. But for the amount of salary that they have to send out, I'm just not sure. I mean, I don't think Kuminga is great, but he at least guards the ball. He's got some size. So I don't know who the guy is that they're going to bring in. He's going to be so much better than him.
Would you?
Like, they need prime Klay Thompson on this team. He's not available.
So let's say though that Golden State told you they would do it. If you were Sac in this position that you are now, would you go ahead with that?
What's the protection on the pick? What year is it?
I'm trying to remember what they were initially negotiating over.
Yeah, I'm going to say no, because I don't think Jonathan Kuminga is going to be a superstar, and the Sacramento Kings will be drafting for this foreseeable future in the range where they could get a superstar.
Someone like Tyrese Halliburton. I'm sorry, Kings fans. You've had enough.
Yeah, maybe De'Aaron Fox, someone like him.
Yeah, or Luka. Yeah.
Marvin Bagley. Yeah, so I think my panic meter, actually, honestly, if I were a Kings fan, I would be very happy that all of this is happening.
Because now you're going to do an honest rebuild, right? Because it's the only only way.
Doug Christie the fuck out of there. He's a joke.
Yep.
And I mean, obviously, it starts with Vivek, and I don't have a ton of confidence in Scott Perry and his group either at this point. But at least you might get another great player in the draft now, because I thought when they made that trade, and this is even before everything fell apart for them, when they made the trade for DeRozan, giving up that swap. By the way, if they had just held on to Harrison Barnes instead of trading for DeRozan, they would be in a much better place, I would say, of just having a 6'8" guy who can make some threes and just can at least like not be a total turnstile on defense. They would be much better off than, like, that was really the beginning of the end, was getting DeRozan.
Yeah.
Because it took away all the fit of their team, and his fit with Sabonis was terrible. So I think
just 4 now. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they had to sign Precious Achiuwa off the street and then start him.
Yeah. So as far as, I mean, I think you're panicking if they start to win games again, and any of these players other than Keegan Murray are going to be around as part of the next group. All right, well, that's should we do a 5th team in the West, the Dallas Mavericks?
Oh my God, yeah.
Let's do a rating for the Kings. I'm going to go, actually, my Nate Duncan rating would be a 3, because I think what's happening to them is actually good for their long-term health. But if I am a Kings fan and thought they'd be good, it's obviously a 10, because they're not going to be good. They're awful. And also, like, the fact that Sabonis is now like getting injured all the time too, that used to be the thing that was so good about him, was his durability, and now he's not only is he ineffective, but he's also getting hurt more.
It's a depressing year, because this is, 2 years. We're only 2 years out from Light the Beam, and now they're like hopeless.
Okay, let's do the Dallas Mavericks then.
Yeah. So obviously, moving on from Nico Harrison now opens them up to A, they're not going to do a ridiculous extension for Anthony Davis. B, they'll probably trade Davis, and C, trade Kyrie at some point too. And then they have the draft pick this year. They could maybe try to get the pick back from Charlotte in 27.
How would they
But
do that?
you would have
That's
to
by trading Davis and then trading things
trading
to
trading
Charlotte
one of the
for that
assets
pick.
they get for Davis to Charlotte to get their access to their own pick back.
Yeah.
That
To
would be the
remind
way to
people,
do it.
that is top 2 protected from the PJ Washington deal.
And what that sets you up to do is have a 2-year run at being bad, where you're building around Flag and Lively and whatever you get in the draft the next 2 years, and plus all the picks you got from Luca. Which, let me look here, are just the one. Okay, 2029. Yeah. And you go forward with that. That is their best pathway forward. They still have enough to be competent this year if they have their guys, especially if they had one more guy who could dribble. Obviously, the not filling the point guard spot was a definitely a miss by them. I thought Russell.
You know what?
I thought
Let me
Russell
go
might
back
be
on
able
this.
to do it okay, because I was sort of bullish on that part, but if you knew you were actually trying this year, yeah, that was one you'd like to have back. They loaded up so much on these bigs. They needed to make a trade and they never did.
Yeah, I guess maybe that's what you could point to. Although, then again, all these bigs are injured and they actually haven't had enough bigs so far. Lively and Davis and Gafford have all been out. PJ Washington even has missed some time too. But yeah, you would think, could they have traded one of Gafford or Washington for a point guard? But then also they were going to be getting Kyrie back at some point. Now, obviously I wasn't on board with the Luka trade, but given where they were, I actually thought D'Angelo Russell was a pretty decent signing as a stopgap. I think because all this stuff with Nico is like, yeah, he built this terrible roster over the offseason. And yeah, okay, Gafford or Washington, once you got Cooper Flag, you probably should have traded them. You should at least plan to play Cooper at the 3, if not the 4. Or plan to play AD at the 5 and also play Lively there some, play Cooper at the 4. Whatever, that would have been great. But then you also do have Kyrie Irving coming back, so you don't want to over-index on getting a starting quality. Trading for another starting quality point guard doesn't make a ton of sense for when you actually wanted this team to start competing again. So while the sins of Nico Harrison are many, I've thought that criticism, given where they started the offseason and then also the unexpected acquisition of Flag, I don't know that I would have wanted to throw more resources at the point guard position than getting D'Angelo Russell. So that's my opinion. It hasn't worked out well so far, obviously, but I think it would have been trading away a good player for a guy that you didn't need as much once Kyrie came back. I don't know. Is that compelling to you at all, or not really?
I think they need. I think they needed to trade for somebody who was maybe more of a combo who could. And you're threading a needle here. Somebody who's good enough to play next to Kyrie when he's back, unless he's just on.
But you would have traded Gafford or Washington for that.
Are you saying there's no market for Caleb Martin?
Oh, another just totally under the radar, terrible move by Nico.
Because a guy who really would have helped is Quentin Grimes, you know?
Yes, he would have been perfect for them. But they also seem to think that he just sucked there for whatever reason. But in terms of the panic, again, this is one. I mean, it's panic because AD's trade value is so low right now. And you hoped maybe that the way it might go was he played pretty well this year, and then you could move him in the offseason. Now, of course, that would have meant that you didn't get a good draft pick. It's probably more important to just control your own pick this year and get a good draft pick.
Yeah.
Than to have traded AD, who would have only had 1 year left on his deal anyway. So, but in terms of how AD has looked, that's probably something to panic about. The fact that Derek Lively's hurt again, and at some point you just have to be like, yeah, we can't count on this guy as a
That
35-minute a game starting
that
center.
that to me is one thing that I would really be worried about, because other than Flag, Lively is the guy you're trying to build around as your long-term starting five, and he can't stay on the floor.
What do you think about Kyrie coming back this year?
I just don't know why he would do that.
Well, he likes to play basketball,
Yeah, I
and
mean,
maybe he wants to come back and prove that he can play and get traded somewhere relevant at the deadline.
that would be your incentive from the team side to want to go ahead with that. You're still taking them, telling them, hey, take your time, like no rush here. But if he can establish value, I presume he won't be back before the trade deadline. That to me seems unlikely, especially back enough before the trade deadline that teams would scout him and have evaluations based on his performance. So I think it's more realistic, though, that if he plays the last 6 weeks or whatever, and then the teams that see him are able to take that into the summer and have some information and feel a little more confident making trade offers to the Mavs.
Because I think there is a more obvious market for. I think we talked about this last week because his number is lower. That there, if he is Kyrie again, like there are teams that could really use him.
Yeah, I mean, Kyrie making 36 is much easier to work into your cap than AD making 54.
Yeah, like if the Toronto Raptors wanted to trade for Kyrie Irving, they could do it.
Well, they're the one team that could use both of them, actually, right?
Hey, not the 9-5 Toronto Raptors. Are they for real? I don't know. All right. Well, so this has been Western Conference Time to Panic edition. I don't really think there's anyone that's quite panic worthy in the East.
Well, I mean, Indiana blew right past the time to panic.
Yeah.
In record time. Okay, we're done.
Yeah. But again, they have their pick and their star is out. So it's probably all
gap year.
Hopefully a good thing.
It's all good.
Yeah. All right. Well, this will wrap it up. Thanks so much for watching Hollinger and Duncan. Give us a like and subscribe and a comment on YouTube, and check out some of the other stuff that we're doing there. We got the rights to use NBA footage now. So we are ramping up our YouTube presence. I hope you're enjoying all that as well as this show. Talk to you all next time.